the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
The desert was silent, a cold pre-dawn stillness holding the air. J. Robert Oppenheimer stood in the darkness, waiting for history to change. The countdown echoed, a voice in the gloom, each number a hammer blow. Then the world was ripped open. A flash brighter than 1,000 suns bleached the desert, a violent eruption of pure energy. For a moment, there was only the searing, silent image of a mushroom cloud rising. It was a pillar of fire, creation and destruction fused in a single terrifying event. Oppenheimer watched as theory became horrifying reality. The shockwave followed, a roar felt in the bones, the sound of the world changing. In that moment, a line was crossed, an irrevocable step into a new age. A single line of Hindu scripture surfaced in his mind. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. The secret was out. The power was unleashed. Oppenheimer had given humanity the fire of the gods and the burden of its consequences. Before the desert fire, there was a boy in New York City, J. Robert Oppenheimer, a prodigy raised in privilege and isolation. His mind devoured knowledge, but his brilliance came with fragility and loneliness. At Cambridge, he struggled, clumsy in the lab, tormented by inner turmoil. A desperate act, a poisoned apple for his tutor, marked his breaking point. Escape came in Germany at Göttingen among the pioneers of quantum mechanics. Here, Oppenheimer found his tribe, his confidence and his purpose. He published, debated and thrived, no longer the awkward outsider. Göttingen became his crucible, forging his intellect and giving him a place in the world. He was still complex and troubled, but now he had a community and a mission. Returning to America, Oppenheimer brought the fire of quantum physics with him. At Berkeley, at Caltech, he became a magnetic, unconventional lecturer, inspiring a generation of physicists. He built a quantum mecca in California, drawing the brightest minds to his orbit. Yet beneath the academic brilliance, he was drawn to radical politics and complex relationships. As Nazism rose in Europe, news of nuclear fission in Germany sent shockwaves through science. The possibility of a Nazi atomic bomb galvanized Oppenheimer and his peers. Theoretical debates gave way to urgent calculations. Could a chain reaction be harnessed? Oppenheimer began organizing, shifting from pure science to the practicalities of atomic power. The charismatic professor was being drawn into the heart of a secret, world-altering project. The coming war demanded a new role, one that would change him and the world forever. Choosing Oppenheimer to lead the Manhattan Project seemed a gamble. No Nobel, no management experience, a history of leftist sympathies. Yet General Groves saw in him a mind that could grasp the totality of the project. Oppenheimer proposed a secret laboratory, Los Alamos, where the greatest minds could work together. Under his direction, a city rose from the dust, shrouded in secrecy and tension. He became the intellectual and emotional core, moving between scientists, engineers, solving problems, soothing egos. The immense pressure forged him into a remarkable leader, but it took a toll on his health and soul. The final push to build the bombs was frantic. Every calculation had to be perfect. The fate of the war and the world rested on their work. Oppenheimer drove them forward, possessed by the urgency of his mission. He was building a weapon to end a war, but knew he was unleashing a power that would haunt humanity. In the desert, as the bomb exploded, his legacy as the tragic father of the atomic age was sealed. July 16, 1945. Just before dawn, in the desert of New Mexico, scientists gathered for the first nuclear test, codenamed Trinity. There was silence, tension, and fear. Some whispered about the unthinkable possibility of igniting the sky. Others placed bets on the size of the explosion. At 5:29 a.m., the countdown began. Then a blinding flash, the desert lit up brighter than the sun. A massive fireball rose into the sky, followed by a shockwave that rattled windows miles away. In that instant, humanity had entered the nuclear age. Oppenheimer later said that a verse from Hindu scripture, came to his mind. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Just 3 weeks later, the bombs were ready for use. On August 6, 1945, Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima. 3 days later, Fat Man was dropped on Nagasaki. Entire cities were destroyed. Over 100,000 people died instantly, with many more suffering from burns and radiation. Days later, Japan surrendered. World War II was over. For many in the United States, the bombs were seen as necessary. They ended the war and saved countless American lives. But for Oppenheimer, the victory felt hollow. He told President Truman, Mr. Bromblade, to have Tuan. President, I feel I have blood on my hands. Truman dismissed him as naive. After the war, Oppenheimer became a public figure speaking about the dangers of nuclear weapons. He opposed the development of the far more destructive hydrogen bomb, warning that it would spark an arms race with the Soviet Union. But this stance, combined with his past associations with left-wing groups, made him a target in Cold War America. In 1954, he was subjected to a humiliating security hearing. His loyalty was questioned. Old friendships were twisted into evidence. The verdict: his security clearance was revoked. Oppenheimer, once the leader of the Manhattan Project, was now stripped of influence and cast out of the corridors of power. Oppenheimer spent his final years quietly, lecturing, writing, and reflecting. In 1967, he died of throat cancer at the age of 62. His legacy is complicated. He was a genius who gave the world one of the most important scientific achievements in history, but also its deadliest weapon. To some, he was a hero who ended the war. To others, he was a tragic figure who opened a Pandora's box humanity might never close. And even today, whenever nations rattle nuclear sabers, or when the world wonders what the future holds, Oppenheimer's shadow looms. Oppenheimer once warned, in the debate on policy, the voice of the scientist has been heard. The question is whether it will be heard in time. His story isn't just history. It's a warning that with great power comes even greater responsibility. Because the fire he unleashed in the desert of New Mexico still burns in our world today.